Okay, try number 2, because I really want to just get straight to the point. This is the story of this Let Me Help You Lunatic, and I guess I could just throw in the whole situation with the J lady, because I feel like her situations that she puts herself in is a good example of the cycles that I talk about all the time that really revolve around desperation. And it's funny because I've been talking about this for a good couple years, and like Karina Lourdes, or Allure, I think that's how it's pronounced. She made a video like the other day or something like that, and it's a good way to summarize what I've been trying to like explain. Although she refers to it as the spirit of desperation, and like how it's like a whoredom spirit. And honestly, I feel like that's a good way to summarize these fiascos, as I call it, that a lot of people get themselves into over and over again. And it's kind of funny though, because it makes me think about this video that I seen like last night, where a lady was talking about how she feels like intelligence is like more common than people will admit. And at first I thought she was going to talk about like something else, but then she started to describe something that's kind of different, I feel. But she was talking about how like everybody really knows the same things in different ways. And I mean, kind of. But anyhow. So in the video titled something something church go to shelter something something, I mentioned the situations of like how I wouldn't even really advise somebody to try to go to a religious organization to even use the bathroom or any of that. Even if it's hot outside and you know they have AC, even for a water bottle. But as I always said, something that's risky for one person isn't going to be risky for another. But when you walk into certain places and they feel like, or they sense that you're in some type of situation, even if you don't think you're in a bad situation or a quote-unquote situation, if they feel like your situation isn't ideal or isn't the norm or what they're used to seeing, they're going to feel like you came in there because you want something from them and you need something from them. And I mean, obviously, if you go there to like, and you ask to use the bathroom or something, or if you ask if they could give you a water bottle, they're going to feel like, yeah, you want something from us and you want to use us anyway. So, like, it's just a lot of stuff with that. One of the times I went in there, or was this the first time or the second time? I can't even remember, but I went to use the bathroom. And then that was the situation I mentioned in the church shelter video about how, like, a lot of things happen behind, or a lot of unease about me, or more unease, because people already felt some type of way about me, but people started to feel even more ways about me after I confronted that lady that was about to beat an infant with, or really beat anybody, with this like 2x4, or really bigger than that. And then I think that's the same day I met the S lady, because I'd been thinking that I met her at the library, but actually I didn't. She's just there pretty often, which, as I've talked about in other videos, I try to like not go there because it's too much stuff with the Chomo guy and the police around there. So I just avoid going there. And it kind of seems like every time I go in that area, even just to go to the grocery store, after that the police are like more after me. It's like every time I go in that area, the Elvis guy, maybe even some other people, but I know specifically him, he says whatever to the police, and then they start like harassing me and stuff all over again, and I just try to not go around there. Since I've been back in town, or back in this state, because I went back to the West Coast for a little while at one point, this lady named S was around. No, J. I'm screwing this up. J was around. I met J because before the library stuff really started to go down, after me coming back in town. No, this was after that, I think, already. But it just hadn't gotten bad yet. I was sitting on the bench, and this other guy who was out here at one point in time, because he was waiting for his apartment to, like, for the apartment complex to be fixed or something, whatever the people kept telling him. And he been moved in, but he was waiting for a house, and so when he was out here, he would like sit near the library before he would go to work, or after he got off work, and before he would go to go get a hotel or whatever, or a motel. And I was talking to him, and then this lady that I'll call D had came, and she had brought this lady named Jay, and she was like, she asked me if I could like help Jay get around town and show her like the bus routes and stuff, and I don't know, just like show her a good place to sleep. Actually, no, that's not even what she said. Dee told Jay that the library was a good place to sleep near, and I was like, absolutely not. No, it's really not. I wouldn't advise that at all. And I eventually did have to like show her another spot to sleep because the police kept threatening to like throw her in jail, and it was a lot of stuff. But I told her that like due to the situation behind the sexual harassment that's happening to me, and even kind of like the other dude who was out there behind Elvis, quote unquote, and the cops, and even the whole situation of the cops like trying to scare me by claiming they had videos of me naked for whatever reason, that stuff that they were doing, I told her that really wasn't even a safe area to be in, and she should sleep somewhere else. But I would really advise her to not even be like on the side of town that often, or at least like don't like be near the library, or even really be seen near me when Elvis or the police are around, because then they're gonna feel like she's associated with me and they're gonna harass her too. But that went how that went. I showed her another spot. And okay, so now to go into Jay's story. So Jay grew up in foster care. She was put up for adoption as a baby. She mentioned how like the social worker always told her that she shouldn't even try to meet her birth family because they didn't want her and they never wanted her. And social workers will often tell people this to like manipulate them, but it actually was true. And she said that her birth family told her that they didn't want anything to do with her, which is really unfortunate. But anywho, she had an abusive, racist, adoptive mom and some adoptive siblings, and apparently like, well, no, because if I go into that now, it's going to be more confusing. She grew up in a racist town, or what she said was a prejudiced town, which I'm not really sure exactly what the difference is with that, but I know that there's like supposedly a difference. But I have to Google the definition. But she didn't even go past the 3rd grade, and she couldn't really read ever, and she couldn't really count, supposedly, or at least she was like told this. But I told her that like it's very obvious that you can read and write. Like a lot of people who feel like school is like this end all be all, who haven't been to school, feel like that because they haven't been, that means that like they're stupid or something. But I mean, I told her that like, you're talking about how you don't know geometry, but I mean, the average person doesn't know geometry. Like, this isn't like, I don't know, China or something. This is not China where like, I don't know, it's like people just have this weird mindset about school. Like, they feel like most people know calculus and stuff like that, when that's really not true. But anywho, she feels like, or she thought for whatever reason, that she can't really read or count because she couldn't go to school past 3rd grade because her foster mom died, and there was nobody else to enroll her in school because you can't enroll yourself. People think that you can't enroll yourself under 18, but you can't enroll yourself in high school either at 18. Although, I don't know what I was about to say. But yeah, so the people in her town were prejudiced, quote unquote. And so like, she was only around white kids, and they wouldn't play with her because she was dark skinned, and because they would just call her all types of slurs and stuff. And that went very, very not good. And then she was assaulted. Well, not even assaulted. She was R-worded at like 12. And then she had a baby, but CPS took the baby. Well, no, they actually gave her a choice, because sometimes they do just take the baby. But she told them that like, she feels like they should just take the baby and put the baby up for adoption. And so she never got to raise her kid or even really know her kid. Some stuff happened behind her abuse situation where like, she tried to like defend her brother or either her uncle from the abusers and the foster family, and she ended up getting juvenile life. So she was locked up in jail from 13 to 21. And she would tell me about how honestly she's glad that like she got to be in jail, because she wouldn't have wanted to live her teen years on the streets like I am, because she doesn't know how she take care of herself or support herself, and she really never learned those life skills. And when she got out of jail at 21, she married some 45-year-old man, which she ended up having to divorce because he, of course, was an abusive alcoholic, and I think he was also racist as well, if I'm remembering right. And then her uncle died, but that was the only person she ever had to talk to, and I remember she kept talking about going and laying on her uncle's grave, but I'm trying to summarize this without making it too long. But, like, another part of the story is that she had a foster sister. She said that her foster siblings never really liked her that much, and because, for one, she was overweight. Because from the looks of it, at least to me, she was born with metabolic issues that also, like, give her cognitive issues. And I've been telling her that she definitely has, like, diabetes still. She has metabolic issues. I have iatrogenic metabolic issues, so, like, I can definitely tell the symptoms. And it's like, the doctors may have told her that she's better now, supposedly, but it's like, I mean, very obviously you still have insulin resistance. And I mean, it's very unfortunate that people trust doctors so much, so they'll, like, let people tell them that it's normal to be walking around having diarrhea on yourself and peeing yourself and stuff, and, like, having low and high blood sugars. But some people are gaslit so much to where, like, they don't even really know that they're having low and high blood sugar. Like, she said that she thought her symptoms were just anemia. She needs to get a continuous glucose monitor, but so many people are underweight or overweight because they have metabolic issues and they're never told that they do. But anyways, her foster sister, one of them, was quote-unquote too fast for her. And this is where the issues come in. She said that her foster sister was slimmer than her and she was better at making friends and stuff, and how she was quote-unquote too fast for her. Not like the fast-grown insult that's usually given to people who are, like, being essay, but, like, she just was able to, like, get along too quickly. I guess that's a better way to put it, and figure things out. So her foster sister wouldn't take the abuse. She would run away from getting the beatings and all that, and she would run away all the time and nobody would be able to find her. And she said after a while, her foster sister ran away and went to Job Corps, which I guess somebody enrolled her. Or maybe this was, like, back during a point in time where you could still get in a Job Corps without parents' permission and without having, like, references. Which, honestly, it should still be like that, but they're shutting a lot of those places down anyway, so. But, yeah. Her foster sister went to Job Corps for welding, got a welding certificate, called her uncle or their brothers or somebody, I can't really remember, to come pick her up. And she doesn't know where she's at, but apparently a lawyer told her that she's either in South Carolina or North Carolina, because she had to, like, talk to a lawyer about selling her plot of land because the foster mom had passed down some land. And apparently there's, like, well over 12 foster siblings that are on, like, the paperwork for the land, but she said she didn't even know, like, any of those people. She only knew, like, 2 or 3 of her foster siblings, and she didn't even know about 12 plus foster kids, and that the foster mom never told them about the other kids that she had adopted or fostered. So apparently the land was passed down to a lot of people who have no idea that the land is even there. But she would just always, she being Jay, would always tell me about, like, how the foster sister was just too fast for her and how she didn't take abuse. And that's the thing. People are raised to take abuse and to believe that, like, it's just punishment and all that. The person who's willing to, like, break free from the gaslight and cognitive dissonance, if they can figure out how to, like, support themselves either inside or outside of the matrix and not lose their mind from loneliness, they have a possibility of having a better situation. And, like, she said that her foster sibling was good at making friends, which honestly, I'm definitely not good at doing. My parents weren't good at doing, and really, all the, like, people I've known who are anointed or prophetic and or have had these, like, really not even really bad abuse situations, even like usual abuse situations aren't good at like friendship type stuff. Me personally, like starting a few years ago, I really started to realize that I don't even like most people I meet, so I'm not even really all into the friend thing like I used to be. I used to be pretty buddy, but not anymore. But if you are able to like do the friendship thing, that's a plus, and you have a better possibility of like not being stuck in horrible situations for the rest of your life and dying in them. But yeah, anywho, it's like she would talk about how she couldn't keep up with her and all that, but I would say that was her first downfall. And then she like talks about how she never learned any employable skills and wish she had like some work skills so she could get a job or get hired. Which, I mean, it's really unfortunate because at this point she shouldn't even have to really work a job because she's like almost 56 anyways, although a lot of people around here will say 56 isn't old. I mean, I don't consider it old, but I feel like the health issues she has makes things a lot worse. So like she's not even like as healthy or even able to really walk like even some people around her who are way older than her. But yeah, so there's that. And what else was I gonna say? So yeah, she says that she tried to work this one job as like a washing clothes, but she can't walk that fast, so like she wasn't able to keep up with the other people in the housekeeping job, and she was a babysitter at one point, but kids make her nervous and all that, and she couldn't really take care of kids or babies. And somebody was saying that her saying that like kids make her nervous and she can't tell the difference between teenagers and people in their 20s is weird, but I was like, I mean, honestly, I'm the same way. People my age have always made me nervous, and I feel like it's worse now because like I've just never been used to being around people my age, and younger people definitely make me nervous. Like, I don't know, like I try to avoid eye contact. I know it's gonna sound really, really weird, like probably some POCD type stuff, which I guess you could probably even get it mixed up if you like have these types of things going on. But really, it's like when I see younger people, which is like probably not the best way to start off a conversation or sentence, but when I see younger people, like way younger, and like even babies, and well, not really babies, but kind of, it just makes me think about like all the years that have went by, and it kind of makes me wonder like where all the time went, and like just even things that some people get to do, like having free time, just like, I don't know, riding a bike and stuff. Even like people my age and even like a little older, just things that like they're doing that are like how do I put this? Things that people my age, older and younger, that some of them like get to do, that are just like, I guess, considered like normal everyday life things that I never have got to do and probably won't. Hopefully that made sense and that like sounded better, but I totally get what she means when she says that she's scared of kids. Like, I remember she told me that like when she originally met me, she couldn't really see me because it was dark, but she thought that I was like in my mid to late 20s, which a lot of people around here, they automatically assume that I'm like 32 or something. Because, like, they're just not used to seeing younger people on their own, I guess. I don't know, but, well, not I don't know, but it's just weird. But people assume that, and so, like, she assumed what a lot of people assume, that I'm younger and that the dude who was out there with us at that point in time was my way older boyfriend, which is really annoying, but so many people are just used to these grooming situations, and it's so normalized to where they just think it's whatever. But that's definitely not what was going on, but that's what she told me she thought. And anyways, so what was I about to say? Dang it, I don't even remember what I was about to say, but pretty much still talking about the kid thing, I think. So yeah, like I totally get it, like especially outside of like a school setting. No, even there, really, I was nervous around like it's too many people really in a school setting, anyways. Like the regular school setting, it's a lot of people to be around, and it definitely does make me nervous. And I feel like it's even worse now. And it's like also like especially when you're in places where people aren't used to like street kids. It's like people, especially in places like this, like even ones to my age or older, they just automatically assume that like if they like know my situation anyways, they automatically assume that I'm like way older than them. And like I don't know, it can even go into the whole Geronophile complex. Like people feel like street kids aren't kids, or like they just I don't know, like you're only supposed to hang around weird older people, and you shouldn't be around people your age because your situation is not what some people are used to, which I still find so weird and stupid though, because it's like so many people grow up hidden homeless, being thrown around in their cousin's house and their grandparents' house, or living with friends. And it's like, I get that people around maybe aren't used to seeing like full-blown street kids, but it's still like people are just pretty ignorant though, because it's like there's literally a youth shelter in New Orleans, and it's just like people are just so blind to their surroundings. But I don't know how to explain it, but either way, kids make me nervous too. That's the point. And I totally get what she means, although she's way older than I am, obviously. But it's like, it's just really kind of like nerve-wracking and anxiety-ridden, if that's the word, when you're like around people or age groups that you're not used to being around. And then it's like, I don't know, a lot of people feel like I act weird around younger people, I feel. Because it's like, I don't know, I just see them and I start having flashbacks, and then I start staring. It definitely doesn't look the best, but it's like, I don't know. It's just crazy. And I feel like once you get out here, like once you are like a street kid or homeless or whatever, time starts going by even faster. Like, it's really crazy. Like this one lady said that I quote pretty often, and I'm the West Coast, and I think Cali and SoCal, San Francisco, or is that North? I don't even remember, but she was homeless since either 13 or 15, can't really remember. And like she spent a lot of her 20s living in the woods, and the time just went by faster and faster. It's like one day you're 13, and then eventually you make it to 18 and you're done laying low, and then you're 35. Kind of like this one dude told me that time goes by faster, and he wishes that he would have took more opportunities when he was younger. But I mean, shoot, he's only 35. It's not like he's like, I don't know, 60 or something, or even 40. So it's really weird to me. Like, that's really not even, I don't consider 40 or 50 old, but I feel like people having these mindsets that like it's already too late when they're only 35 is like really interesting. And like somebody said, even though I don't like the labels and believe in them really, but like a UK homeless advocate or whatever said, a lot of homeless people are unknowingly quote-unquote autistic. And I feel like that 35-year-old dude, which is the same dude who's been getting diddlered, looking for a father figure, and that 67-year-old who quote-unquote was going to help him stop getting beat up and robbed and bullied and made fun of, but now has him quote-unquote gone ballistic in his butthole. That dude, like, he's probably just the type that, I mean, most of us wouldn't really ever fit into, like, mainstream quote-unquote functional society anyways, and, like, he's probably just used to getting bullied, and so he feels like he just doesn't have options. But he's saying he wishes he would have took opportunities when he was younger. I wonder what those opportunities was, because, like, really nobody's going to hand anything to you, and you're going to have to figure things out on your own anyways. Most people raise themselves. So, like, I don't really know what he means by that, but he's not old, though. Like, I have people making me feel like I'm old, and I've had people doing that to me for years, but it's not It's really for different reasons. It's about like SA type stuff more so and victim blaming type stuff, but it's still really interesting. But I don't know what I was about to say or why I brought that up. But anywho, back to the point. So Jay told me about how she hasn't had a driver's license since 21 and she never renewed it and she can't drive. The other dude who was out here, I'm gonna call him E, not Elvis, but well, I've mentioned him before in a couple of videos actually, but E also felt like, well, wait a minute, let me start over. E felt the same way that D felt. Like, the J lady just has a lot of excuses and wants people to feel bad for her, and she's trying to manipulate people into helping her and to like doing things for her. And once like she admitted that she had like an SSDI check, like people felt some type of way even more, because it felt like, okay, so you've been getting abused in all these different rental situations, but you have enough money to like pay rent, and like you're not on drugs, so you don't use your money for anything else. So a lot of people don't get why she won't just like get a place. But she did tell me some type of way that I felt before as well, which is that she doesn't want to live alone. Now, me personally, I don't want to move on random people. I wouldn't even really want somebody to bring me into their house for many reasons. But like, I feel like if like I knew some people and got along with them, I'd rather live with other people than like live by myself. And also it could like fix a lot of issues, because like with age and stuff, if I even did have the money, like I would probably need someone to like sign with me, and there's a lot of stuff with that. But it's like, I get what she means by that. I used to feel that way more, but kind of now I don't really care that much anymore. But like, I don't know, it's just a lot of abusive room rentals around, and like, it's not, they don't lead to good situations pretty much. Like, whenever you have to like do these room rental type things, it's commonly going to be like people that know you're desperate, and you also probably don't have enough money, or else you probably just get your own place. So like, it's bound to be some abusive crazy man. She has a long line of stories of like her being homeless in different places. The usual situation, like the spirit of abandonment, rejection, the orphan spirit, and the vagabond spirit, which all goes hand in hand, where like most people just get stuck and end up like traveling around, which there's nothing wrong with traveling, but like the reasons that we fall into these situations, and like the barely being able to keep the lifestyle up, because a lot of us had health issues way before we ended up out here, that's the bad part. And also like the being alone part. But like, more recently, she has like this story about a lot of SA, a lot of elder abuse, in a room rental situation. That's a long story, that she left and she came back here, and she was originally trying to go back to her land to like try to sleep outside a church in a very prejudiced place, quote unquote, where they were most likely gonna like unalive her. And she was talking about she was gonna sleep outside of a church and get an e-bike, which the e-bike thing was a recent add-on. And I was like, I mean, where are you gonna get it mailed to? And like, you sold your plot of the land, and you say there's nothing you can live on the land, and you don't have money to get anything built, but you say you can't get anything built that would be permanent because it's shared land. And then like, you don't even know if this church is still there. The people are all racist out there. You're saying you're gonna like try to use a knife to unlock the hatchet for the church, if that's even still like set up that way. And it still may not even still be there, but it's like, I mean, if the people see you sleeping outside a church, that's gonna go really left. And she's talking about like how she's still not gonna be worried about showering or any of that stuff, and she's just gonna keep having diapers and wipes and body wipes and baby wipes. And I remember when she would talk about it, the E-dude would just look at me, and it's like, because it's not funny, but like the look he would give me is just like he was doing way too much. But I even remember how he told me that like when he would talk about he was going to get a hotel, how she would look at him and he could tell that she was trying to like manipulate him. But I mean, I can't really say that though, because she does like give a lot of weird looks, to be honest. I don't even think she does it on purpose. Like after every sentence, she like gives you this like look where she stares you in the eye. And I really think it's because she wants somebody to co-sign her and agree with her to, like, especially when she's talking about going back to the land to, like, pretty much just lay on her uncle's grave and die. And then she would talk about it, and she would, like, give this look where she would, like, stare you in the eye like she's trying to get you to say yes and okay. And it's like, I don't know, though, but it was pretty funny, but anywho, what was I about to say? But yeah, like, she would just give this look like she's waiting for you to say yes and amen or something. But oh yeah, she told me about her religious trauma and like how all the religious people are racist and how that's why she stopped going to church and some other stuff, and which that's gonna go into this last part if I even remember. And so where was I last at? But yeah, she was talking about how she was supposed to like claim her ex-husband's benefits, but she wasn't old enough to claim them when he passed. So she was gonna claim them when she was 67 or something like that. Can't really remember, but it's like, I mean, shoot. It's like, if you already have the health issues you have and like you're already struggling to even walk across the street, I mean, you gotta like find a situation to even be still around by 67 to claim benefits. But yeah, so like, she said she was homeless in San Diego and the cops would chase her around and she lost a whole bunch of weight running from the cops. Honestly, I wonder if she was in San Diego when I was in San Diego. Not that I was ever really there that long, but that's interesting to think about. But then again, maybe not, because I think she said she was in that abusive rental situation in Houston for like 2 years with like something about the landlord like having oral fiascos with the other elderly people, and he would tell his wife that he was at work, but he would come over with one of his co-workers to get with the elderly dudes. And she said that like one of the elderly guys was telling her that the landlord had an 8-inch and a whole bunch of stuff, and he was stealing their money, stealing their food stamps, wouldn't let them go to the store. He was stealing their SSDI. And so yeah, there was that. I should have been mentioning that though, because now it's going to be kind of like thrown in the middle. But I kind of forgot exactly how the situation went, but that's what she said. That's the main thing I remember with that. And she escaped, and she kept saying that she doesn't want to pay rent anymore because paying rent has never went well for her. But I kept saying that, like, you really haven't paid rent for an actual place. You've been getting into these crazy room rental situations, and you haven't actually, like, gotten your own apartment before. But then she would talk about how, like, she really couldn't take care of herself anyways, and like she can barely walk and stuff. She doesn't want to live alone, and she's tired of being by herself because like people get in her business when you live alone and they want to get with you, which I mean, I totally get what she means. I get what she means completely. It's like whether you're young or old, people are always gonna like try to find some way to like use you for something when they see that you don't have anybody. And so, like, she told me this one story, I forgot about this, but she was in a nursing home at one point in time some years ago, and due to, like, her health issues and stuff, and she ended up signing herself out because they kept asking her who her parents were, and she kept saying, I'm 50 years old, and it's none of anybody's business where my parents are. I don't have parents anyways because I'm grown now. And she had did the whole I'm grown thing with me once, but it's like, I mean, you're the one telling me stuff and asking me for advice on what to do. And then she did the whole I'm grown complex thing. And then she was like, I mean, I'm grown and I'm old enough to drink. And it's like, I mean, shoot, you're the one telling me, somebody that's not old enough to drink, about all the things that got going on. But people always do that, and that's so annoying. But anyhow. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, I didn't really want to help her that much because, for one, I'm not even from here, so I felt like it was like, I mean, I didn't want her to get completely lost, but it's like, I mean, I don't know why I was asked to be the one to, like, show her, well, I do know why, because everybody else, or a lot of the other people that lady knows, the D lady, are, like, R-worder dudes, so I guess I could see now why she asked me instead of anybody else to show, Jay around town so she wouldn't get R-worded, but I'm still not from here, so I was like, I mean, I can't really show you too much, but when I was trying to show her how to get to certain places, because I was like, I have like things I have to go do, but just get on this bus and the bus driver will tell you where to get off. And she kept saying, well, I mean, I don't know, like, what if I get lost? And it's like, I mean, all you just get on the bus, because it was like, it may sound kind of like rude, but she really was kind of annoying me, because I was like, you get on this bus, you ask the bus driver where to get off, and it's the first stop anyways to go to the shelter, because she was saying that she wanted to like try to like get into a shelter, which all of them are full in many states, to be honest, but she wanted to stay there until she got the bus money to go back to her land, quote unquote her land. And I told her where to go, where to get off, and she was still acting like it was like the most confusing thing ever. And I mean, I didn't want to be rude, because I feel like I often can get mad pretty easily, although typically I'm really good at not like showing when I'm mad. People would usually never know, but I do think she could kind of tell that I was like getting annoyed with like certain stuff she was doing and saying, because I had to go somewhere, I can't even remember where, but I was like, I'm not really going to be able to like wait here with you for the bus to come back around, and all you got to do is ask the bus driver. And then I eventually did end up having time to show her how to get different places and stuff like that. And I kept telling her that she could shower at the shelter place. And then she was like, well, I'm just going to use the wipes. And like eventually she was like, that's not my main priority. I think she just gotten really used to like not showering over the years or something. And she was like, well, I mean, I took a shower when I was at the hotel when I first got here weeks ago. But anyhow. She kept bringing up the baby wipes, and that happened. And I kept telling her that's really, really not a good thing, and like you could probably like get sick from just walking around with like the diapers and like not showering. But like she was just like, well, it's whatever, and I'm grown. And then the Edu was like, she's grown, but she won't take a shower. It's like, it's not funny. He really made the situation like funny when it shouldn't have been. I just tried to ignore him, but I think that's everything. I could be missing something. No, I'm missing something. I mentioned this before when it happened a couple weeks ago. So, the usual sexual predator dude had came around and he saw me, so he hit a U-turn on his bike, which if I haven't mentioned this before, whenever you see somebody in a car on a bike and they see you and then they like hit a U-turn, they're after you and they're a Marine Kingdom agent. And the lust demons and the perversion spirits are like whispering whatever in their ears, and they're about to try whatever. In fact, a couple of days ago, I was sitting at the bus stop by the park, and this guy had ran over to the bus stop, and some guy who was a pimp had stopped him and hit a U-turn for him and told him he was fine, although it was obvious that this dude who came to the bus stop outside perversion spirits, as like a lot of the guys do, and so he was very obviously DL anyways. But he went on this rant about how he's never been with dudes, but he's done a lot of crazy stuff with girls, quote unquote. Although typically it's not really like somebody like coming up to you and throwing you in a car. I've never had that happen. I mean, it's definitely possible. Like, people have this like mindset about how things go that's really not usually how you end up in like certain situations, but that's a whole other video. But I mean, they hit a U-turn and like they may try to like manipulate you into something, but that's typically about it. But I mean, I wouldn't like just stand there. I'm personally not like scared of anybody, so I don't like want to like get this impression that I'm scared and start like running from people. I did end up having to like almost fight this dude, but that was another day though. But this day specifically, before he ended up having to run from me, he had came up to the elderly lady asking if she was my mom and all that stuff, or she was my grandma, and if we were homeless together. And as I mentioned in some other video, she started telling him all my business, and this is something I mentioned plenty of times before, especially in that video I made a year or two ago about the sad or dangerous cycle of homeless women, whatever it's titled, like the continuous R-word stories, or just the continuous stories of people getting in bad situations because like they're desperate, or they just don't know to not tell people their business. And that's why, like, well, I don't like mental labels. I do feel like either due to her metabolic issues, she has like cognitive issues, or like maybe she was born with like some type of whatever in the first place. She says she's just gullible, although I do feel like it could just really be really, really bad desperation, which isn't uncommon. But it's like I do feel like she should know that she shouldn't just tell people all her business that pull up in a bike and hit a U-turn when they see me and try to like lure her into an apartment. But this is also how desperation works, and I would say it's more than being gullible, although I'm not really sure what the gullible term means exactly. I know it's used a lot for ageism and like SA situations, but the guy was telling her that she could move in with his friend and she could have a room for $500 a month, which is really a lot of money. Like, people do this room rental stuff, but I mean, it's less than like getting like an apartment sometimes, depending on where you live. But like, I feel like if you have the money, you might as well just get your own apartment instead of moving in with some random person who may unalive you. And then it's like you just got out of a crazy SA situation, which wasn't your first SA abuse, getting robbed, abusive rental situation. And it's like, it may sound rude, but it's like some people kind of telling themselves, and after a while you kind of get why they're like in the predicament they're in. And I know people use this like saying all the time to like blame people for stuff, and like, I mean, plenty of people would use it for me, kind of like when some guy was mostly making assumptions and he was bragging to me about how he had a bachelor's degree and he was a drug dealer and how he was a chemist and how he chose his lifestyle, knowing the risks that came along with it, and he didn't wander into the situation like I did. Because I was talking about like this abusive situation that happened with this what was it called, a host family thing, where the lady admitted that like she's fostered before and she does it for money because she needed a new HVAC system and she wasn't letting me cook or shower. And like the whole reason I even agreed to the youth program with the whole host family was because I wanted to like use like a stove to try this diet to like see if it could help with my health issues. That's the only reason I agreed to it. I knew it would be risky because the lady was like, I just knew she was going to be Jezebelic, because I was originally told that like she had a husband but he lived in the backyard in a shed, and she was a disturbed vegan lady that wouldn't really let me eat or cook anything, to be honest. And it's like, it's not even like we shared food, because I had to get my own food because she didn't want to like share food with me. There's a lot of stuff with that. But anyhow, this is the same guy that told me that like I was surviving off the kindness of others and I was ungrateful and that I quote unquote wandered into my situation. But really, I didn't wander into it either, because like I chose to escape my abuse situation. I spent years like breaking free from gaslighting and preparing myself as much as possible to get out of there, and being ready for however things were about to end up after I got out here. But I guess like they just assumed that, I don't know, maybe I was a lot older and like I just was quote unquote lazy and lost my place. Not that people really care regardless, but I guess they assumed I was like older and maybe like I had a place before and I wasn't doing whatever I was supposed to do to keep it up. But like people like that will have this like assumptions about people, and they'll like automatically feel some type of way about you, and so they're the types that'll also say the whole people telling themselves and you'll know why they're in the situation that they're in. Kind of like how people say that like something that people have to understand about homeless people, or people who like, even people who say that they're like in an abuse situation, people will be like, you got to understand that all those people out there are pathological liars and they pull these crazy stories about abuse and trauma out their a-holes to make people feel bad for them, quote unquote. But it's like, definitely in certain situations you really can tell after a while that people kind of do tell on themselves. Although I will say that like with no support and with health issues and possibly like some type of like developmental disability and no help, I mean, it is bound for you to like not end up in an ideal situation, I'll say that. But like with the SSDI, if she could accept being alone and like maybe find a place with like some safer people to hang around, because I understand the whole wanting to like have friends thing totally, but it's like you can't be desperate, and it's like she could have a better situation for herself, especially because she gets SSDI. which, I mean, that's not about to exist too much longer. So I feel like, I mean, whoever's getting it now still should really figure something out while they still can. And, like, I don't know, invest the money into, like, making some type of startup or something. I don't know, but that stuff isn't going to be around for too much longer. What was I saying? It also kind of makes me think about when somebody told me that North Carolina has laws put in place to keep mentally ill homeless children away, which I would honestly say that America has laws put in place for that in general. If the homeless, well, honestly, not even really anymore about the whole under 18 thing. Because now, like, anybody could get thrown in, like, an insane asylum or prison. Well, being homeless was never legal, so anybody could always get thrown into prison, but, like, now it's easier. And then the insane asylum thing, that's honestly kind of easier to throw somebody in than even, like, a prison sometimes. But, I mean, shoot, they're setting up slave camps and Nazi camps and all these different things, and Alligator Alcatraz is very well known about. There's so much more stuff that's being built at the moment as I speak than even just a prison or an insane asylum. Which, I mean, all institutions are pretty much the same, but going back to the whole bachelor degree thing, I wouldn't even really run around bragging about something stupid like that while admitting I have a bachelor's degree, because I feel like most people with sense who are just looking for somebody to put down will be like, well, I mean, if you have a bachelor's degree, then, like, why are you even selling substances unless you really just like to, like, do the quote-unquote, I don't know, hippie, not even hippie, like, the quote-unquote cool kid, bad person thing to, like, make people view you a certain way, or you just, like, get a kick out of, like, the risk or something. I kind of feel like the bachelor's degree thing is kind of like, I don't even get why somebody would really go to school for 4 years to become a drug dealer if they have other options. Or maybe the degree was, like, one of those crap degrees, or, like, maybe they were, like, a chemist or something. I don't know. I'd assume that because, like, I don't know. People are just really interested, and they're always looking for, like, somebody to put down to make their self be at the top, or what they think may be the top, but they're probably not even really in the middle. But back to the whole Jay thing, I'm trying to remember where I was last at. I don't even know, so I'm just going to skip forward. So, weeks and weeks later, Jay meets S at the library. I didn't know yet because we were still sharing a storage unit. We were sharing a storage unit that was very, like, sketchy, to be honest. She ended up moving her stuff out. And apparently, like, her time was almost up for her to pay the bill. Which I kept telling her that, like, if she's planning on moving, because she still was at one point in time, she's planning on moving back to her land, she has to, like, tell the dude at the storage unit that, because other than that, since he, like, has her card info and he asked for the CVV over the phone, which I don't think is how that's supposed to go, but I was telling her, since he does all that, he may, like, charge your card or whatever, and you should just let him know you don't want it anymore if it's almost up. And yeah, so she took her stuff out, and I noticed that when I went to, like, go get something out of my stuff, I was kind of confused, but I saw her, like, when I was walking near the library, and she had went and got me, and she was like, I moved in with somebody, and I was already thinking, oh my gosh. I was already thinking that. She's like, I moved in with somebody. I moved in with this lady, and she told me that she knows you. And I was like, and I was like, what? And then, like, oh, I forgot to say I had gave her my Wi-Fi number for just in case, like, something went really, really, really left. Not that I could really do much, but if something went really, really, really left when she went back to her land, because I was still under the impression that she was going back to her land. And so, what happened was she had moved in with S. S had been trying to get me to move in with her for months on end, way before I had even went back out of town, and I went back to the West Coast to, like, get some things that I had left. And of course I already knew she was a let me help you lunatic and all that, so I didn't even, like, go along with that bull crap. I knew it was about to be some crazy mess. And like I already said, you can tell by looking at her that, like, she has stuff going on. Like, I don't even know how to put it. I wish I had, like, a picture example, not of her, but, like, of just somebody that has a similar look in their eyes of, like, watch out. But she's one of those let me help you lunatics that, like, is very manipulative. She also is one of those, like, religious ones, so she's like, always talking about some the Lord told me and real woman of God and stuff like that. I feel really bad for her grandson. Apparently she didn't even know how old he was. She told me that, like, he was 14, but apparently he's 16. But anywho, that's a common thing in dysfunctional family systems for people to not know how old their kids and grandkids and relatives are. But I'm not even going to go into that. But anywho, she's always like manipulating him and stuff, which I've been meaning to like try to give him some advice, but I never really had the chance. Because like if I fast forward a little bit, I had went to see how things were with like Jay and to see like how horrible things were. Because like I was thinking that maybe because she's older, she's not going to have to deal with the whole I'm grown, you're a child thing. So it may be better for her, but honestly, not really. To make a long story short. Or to do a little fast forward of the situation. From when I very riskily went to S's house. I mean, it was decent enough, but it's still like a whole bunch of manipulation and stuff, and Jay doesn't really truly want to be there. But like, to go back a little bit to the whole thing with Jay approaching me. No, I forgot something. I forgot to say, S is one of those let me help you lunatics that tries to play like holier than thou saint and act like she likes to help people, but treats her own relatives like crap. I've ran into those before. Like when I was in GA and I was living at IHOP pretty much, there was this one lady who worked at the IHOP who had lost custody of her own kids and only got to see them on like weekends, and they would come to her job and spend a few hours with her, and she treated them like crap even there. And they were like, I don't even think they were 10 years old, and she was like mad at them because their face wasn't washed. And she was like, and nobody washed y'all's faces. And she was talking junk about that, and it's like, you lost custody of your own kids and you still are acting super stupid. But then you want to get me a toothbrush when I told you I have a toothbrush anyways. And I hate when people do that. I hate when people like try to play hero and then they get you stuff that you told them you don't need and already have. And now to like be nice about it, you have to carry around a whole bunch of extra bull crap that you have nowhere to put. That's really, really annoying, and it's definitely not helpful. And they do it to look good and make themselves feel like a good person anyways. But yeah, so S is one of those, and this can even go back to the whole thing of why, even though I never had plans on like meeting people at the church or meeting her, she just noticed me. Not even just like the times I went to use the bathroom, but she had noticed me like around the library, and I think that was like the biggest thing about it. That was like the biggest issue. And like I said before, I actually learned this way before I ended up like homeless, but like when younger people go to religious organizations, people are automatically gonna like feel like you need or want something, or you want to do something to somebody, or you just want to like find a place to be at because you have nowhere else to be, because they're not used to seeing younger people even around unless they're being forced to come by like a parent or a grandparent. And very commonly a grandparent and not even the parents. It even reminds me of like this mental health system thing where like if your parents are forcing you to be a part of a religion or to have spiritual beliefs, then it's okay and it's normal. But if you have them and your parents don't, like if you believe in like God, or you believe in, I don't know, like even if you do witchcraft, like although a lot of like mental health professionals are witches, but if they don't believe in that and you believe in it but your parents aren't forcing you to, then like you're schizo with religious fervor, because in their mind none of that stuff is real and people only believe in it when they're forced to. So yeah, that's what it makes me think of as well. But this is really, really long, so I'm trying to like hurry up and get to the point. But now to get back to the thing with the library and Jay approaching me talking about some lady said she knows you. I had a feeling that she was talking about S. I didn't remember S's name because I don't really remember names or faces due to brain damage and maybe even isolation, but I don't know, it started in 2020, so I feel like it's more about brain damage, but I couldn't remember really her name or what she looked like for real. But then it's like, eventually, S popped up because she had to like print some stuff out for her job, and then Jay was like, yeah, this is a lady, and she said she was going to take me in, and I'm just going to live with her, because I asked her if she was going to go back to the land, and she was like, no, I'm just going to live with S. I could already tell, obviously, that she had hopes that this lady would let her live with her rent-free for good, and that in her mind, she was about to be living in somebody's house, not having to pay rent, getting help and getting taken care of. And that wasn't how that went or was about to go, but that's what she thought and that's what she hoped for. And this is the cycle that you'll end up in if you, like, refuse to do the stuff that you can do to, like, figure something out and to not be desperate. And it's like, me personally, I'd rather be by myself than, like, be around people who are treating me like trash and are playing weird mind games. And it's like, I wondered if, like, maybe Jay couldn't tell people were playing games with her, but honestly, from a conversation we had recently that I'm about to go into eventually, she can tell when people are playing games with her, but she just doesn't want to say anything, and she doesn't really want to do what she has to do to take care of herself, so she'd rather just, like, act like she doesn't know what's going on. But anywho, fast forward to make a long story short, she tried to make me, like, she tried to talk me into moving in with with S. I keep screwing this up. And I was like, And then S started telling me about how I was a child and how I was being grown and how I was being bad because I'm a child, and how I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, and how I needed to move in with her because I need a mother figure in my life, and how I'm escaping something when she told me that before one time, and how she understands that I'm escaping something, and how I needed to live with her. And then she started hitting me, and she tried to, like, take my bag from me and, like, run and get in her car to try to, like, do the thing that Let Me Help You lunatics and sexual predators do, where they'll like take stuff from you and they'll run with it or walk away really fast to try to get you to follow them so they can lure you somewhere for whatever reasons. That's a very common thing with these types of predatory people that I've noticed. And as I mentioned before in one of the videos that's in the hypothetically pedo playlist, as I mentioned before, it's very common for, like, for these types of people to, what was I about to say? Hold up. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. I lost my train of thought. But, I was going to say, it reminds me of how, like, people say, when a boy is mean to you, that means he likes you. It's the same predatory stuff. They're, like, mean to you and playing games with you. Like, a lot of the guys around here, the older guys, the elderly ones, as I've already said, like, they have a lot of sexual issues going on, but I noticed that, like, a lot of them are mean to me, but they're mean to me because they want to have sex with me or R-word me or whatever. And that's a long story, but I talk about that in a couple of videos. But even this other dude pointed it out to me, that, like, he can tell that with this one particular, he could tell with these two guys that they were doing a lot of stuff to me and, like, lying about me and spreading rumors about me because they wanted to get with me. I already knew that, but he just pointed it out. Okay, fast forward again. So, she was doing her... Wait a minute, no. Jay gave S my phone number, but luckily I gave her a Wi-Fi number because I typically either tell people I don't have a number or I give them a Wi-Fi number. So, S started texting me some crazy manipulative bull crap to make a long story short, and she was making me really, really mad. Then the whole thing happened where, like, I had went to her house to see, like, how horrible things were for Jay, which I really shouldn't have. And, like, of course she was manipulating her grandson and cursing him out and talking junk to him and cursing at him because she's a real woman of God, and the Lord told her to curse her grandson out because he told her the city bus was taking a while to come and that he had the wrong time for the city bus, and apparently that made her mad, and a whole bunch of bullcrap happened behind that. But yeah, so that happened. She did the thing that a lot of, like, Jezebelic people do that have the I'm grown complex, where they have no boundaries and they are very covertly sexually abusive. So I went in the bathroom. Luckily I was just brushing my teeth, but she'd unlocked the door because she felt like I was getting ready to try to escape, as if I ever said I was going to stay at her house anyways. And so, luckily I wasn't using the bathroom, but I have a lot of trauma around that. In fact, people think that, like, my bathroom trauma comes from, like, public bathrooms in America and how they, like, had the crack in the door. All of my bathroom trauma started thanks to my mom and her covert essay and the covert essay that she would encourage to happen, sibling essay, if that came out right. I used to talk about this pretty often on the evidence channels, but yeah, so that was pretty triggering. I don't know, she just makes me really mad, and she makes me want to like beat her in the head with a baseball bat. Like, I hope her grandson doesn't end up in jail behind her. Then people will be talking about what he did was horrible. I mean, I hope it doesn't happen. It kind of reminds me of like how my older neighbor sister and my mom are always talking about how like my nephew was gonna end up unaliving his mom, which honestly I don't think that's true. They used to say that all the time. I really hated when they would do that because I wouldn't even want him in jail behind having to defend himself due to the different stuff that my older scapegoat sister that they drove crazy would do to him. But yeah, it was screwed up though. He wasn't allowed to go outside. He went through a whole bunch of covert essay throughout his entire life, and then being abused by all my other relatives like my mom and her boyfriend when we all moved in together. And even before then, like, I remember this one situation where my mom had like played stupid victim because my older scapegoat sisters that they drove crazy had came to our house to get my nephew, and when she walked in the door, my mom's boyfriend was standing over him and he was sitting at the kitchen table crying. And then she was like, nah, don't let anybody break you. What did she call him? Nar, which is not the best nickname. She was like, nah, don't let anybody break you, Nar. What did y'all do to my son? What the F did y'all do to my effing son? And then, of course, my mom's boyfriend just tried to act like nothing had happened. And like he had been like taking him through the usual abuse that people take people through that makes him scared to learn how to read because his homework was in front of him. And my mom's boyfriend was like cursing him out and fighting him and stuff. And I think he was maybe 6 at the time or maybe 5. Can't really remember. Now my mom was like, yeah, don't come back to my effing house, and that's not y'all's sister anymore. And my mom just acted like there was no reason for her to be upset about all the stuff that she could assume went down since before she walked in the door. But yeah, so my older scapegoat sister started crying and everything, and that was a really bad situation. But she wasn't not abusive herself either, especially as she started to like get driven crazy from the gaslighting more and more. She got worse and worse, and it just was a really bad situation for my nephew. But yeah, so there was that. But I don't know, I just feel like a lot of people should have more access to harm reduction when it comes to like escaping abuse and all that. Like, a lot of people aren't willing to run away anyway. They know that it's not really worth it, or they think it's not. And I mean, definitely you have to have a mindset for it, but like, I do feel like it's just scary being in these types of reactive abuse situations where like people are trying to push you to the limits to do something to them. In fact, I forgot to mention, there's this whole situation where she told me to ask her grandson for the Wi-Fi password, and then she told me to unlock his door with my fingernail and walk in his room. And I was like, first of all, I'm not about to do all that. She was like, nah, because he don't run nothing and he's not a man in here. And I hate when people do that, because for one, it's really emasculating, and then they wonder why like these boys end up turned out and stuff. It's just so annoying when people do stuff like that to me. But yeah, and unfortunately, of course, he had been in his room crying and listening to NBA YoungBoy, which of course, I mean, you have to do stuff like that when you have guardians like this. And yeah, so there was that. I got out of there though. But when I first came in, she wanted me to like take a shower, and I was like, I just took a shower. And really, when people do stuff like this, what it is that they may not want to admit it at first, but they feel like you're dirty, and they feel like you're a dirty homeless bum, and they're trying to like play games with you because they really don't want you around them or in their house or in their car, but they don't want to say that all the time. And so they won't allow you, or like really maybe any of your stuff, like if you have a book bag, they may tell you to like leave it on the porch or something, because really they feel like you're dirty, but they won't always say that because she's a real woman of God. I still can't get over that whole I'm a real woman of God and you never seen a real woman of God, and that's why you don't think I'm gonna like help people, and you don't know I've helped people, and that I'm a real woman of God. I'm saying it too fast, and that the Lord told me blah 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 blah, and the Lord told me to help you, and the Lord told me to help you and Jay, but you don't want help because you like the streets and you like being dirty and being fast, and you're smart but in a bad way. No, you're smart in all the wrong ways, whatever that means. But she tried to do the thing that a lot of manipulative people do, where they're like, being in the streets has made you manipulative and gave you a bad mindset about people because you need counseling. One of the annoying things about that I forgot is that they act like I've been out here, I don't know, for 35 years selling stuff or something. That's one of the annoying things about it. And then 2, you really have to be engaging with people to really be indulged in like the stuff that goes along with stereotypical street stuff, I guess. And then the main thing is that everything I learned in my previous situation, way before I ever ended up out here. And also, I really always saw myself like living outside, but more so in the woods, so it's kind of whatever. I hate when people say that because, for one, I'm not in the quote-unquote streets. Like, the streets is like, it's like, it revolves around being around a lot of people you shouldn't be and doing a lot of things you shouldn't be. And it's like, you know, in her mind and in people's mind, in places like this, really a lot of people feel this way, but especially in places like this, they almost see like nomads or homeless people no different from like people who are in gangs or want to be down low feminine thug persona gang members, or people who think they're in gangs anyways. Because like she was telling about how these boys who were 14, 16, and 17 stole her car, and how she felt like I would do the same. And that kind of goes into the part 2 that I need to re-upload of the voodoo cult lady situation, because as I said in another video, the voodoo cult lady said something similar, where she felt like I was going to steal her TV, and it's like, steal your TV and how, carry it how, put it where, and do what with it, and then with who. And it's like, it's a lot of paranoia with these people, and it's really interesting like how they try to make you feel like you just have trust issues and stuff, but then they have these like weird stories going about you in their head. And honestly, if I haven't learned anything since birth, it's that really nobody is safe. But it's not even just about me assuming stuff, it's about the discernment, the obvious manipulation tactics that I know far too well, because it's like what I'm used to, starting with relatives in the Catch for Kids system. And then you shouldn't trust people you don't know anyways, to be honest, even without the discernment part. And then it's like when I was in her house, she was talking about she was gonna help Jay, and how she was gonna get Jay an apartment, and she was getting Jay signed up for some disability low income voucher thing, even though the vouchers are like, Section 8 has been full in every state for years on end now, so like that would be a long time to get to the top of the waiting list. But like, she couldn't even really afford the place, and like me and the D lady had told her, even the staff at this other resource center, not the shower one but another one that D had told me and Jay about, like we all told Jay, there's a place that you could get, and it's an apartment, a 1-bedroom, and you could afford it with your SSDI, and you could just get that. It's like, why are you trying to like do all this other stuff that isn't gonna work out? And then it's like, she couldn't even really afford the place that S was trying to get her to move into, supposedly. And S was talking about and I'm gonna help her with her with the pay stubs, and we're gonna put our money together, and I'm gonna pay her rent for her because she can't afford it, and you just never seen a real woman of God, and that's why you don't think that I'm gonna do that, and you never seen it before. The reason I avoid her is because I've seen her in her type before hundreds of times over, even really before I ended up out here. Before I ended up out here, and before I made the term "Let Me Help You Lunatic" in 2022, I had met plenty of "Let Me Help You Lunatics" and didn't even know it yet. But I'm not even going to go into that. But those ones definitely did actually do stuff to help me, though. I'm not going to lie. The ones I met in support groups versus the ones I met in person actually did a lot more stuff to help me. They like helped me break free from the gaslighting and like try and attempt to get lawyers and stuff, which didn't end up working out, but they definitely did things that the people in person would never do and could care less to do, because the ones I've met that are full-blown "Let Me Help You Lunatics," really could not care about doing anything for anybody. It's all like a facade. As I say all the time, once saved, always saved, / the good deeds outweigh the bad, those Catholic terms, and the first one is Protestant, I believe. And do what thou wilt is all the same thing. These people think that like them running around terrorizing people and trying to control people is gonna get them into heaven. And it's like, looking back over it, a lot of the Let Me Help You lunatics are at least spiritual, or they have some type of like religious thing going. Most of them. Well, not most of them, half of them. But anywho, it's like if it's not that, they just want like something sexual and then that's it. But anyhow, she went on this rant, and then she was talking about how like oh yeah, she had lost her car key and forgot it at the post office, and then she blamed me and told me I should have saw it. And then like after me leaving, a lot of stuff went down, and she was like texting my phone more crazy stuff, and I had blocked her and Jay because she was texting me from Jay's phone, and she was supposedly getting Jay to text me bullcrap, but eventually, like more recently, Jay told me that it wasn't really her texting me, which probably isn't even true, because she's trying to like act like she's not a part of the issue. But she was saying that like S was getting on her phone and like texting me on Jay's phone and was pretending that it was Jay. And then I was like, well, I mean, if this is really Jay, then why are you texting me and talking about some Miss S and Real Woman of God and Miss S is this, Miss S that? And but she does talk about herself in third person though. She's what I like to call a Cardi B Elmo. So she's a Cardi B Elmo. And I had somebody tell me that his grandma always told him that people that talk about themselves in third person are self-righteous. From all that, and her hitting me and trying to drag me into her car while telling me I'm being grown. A little after this, right when I started trying to like figure things out, to figure out like how to fix my situation, or more so how to make some money, chaos broke loose with the Jezebelic house niggers, including Miss S, as she calls herself in third person. Miss S, the Real Woman of God. So she was talking about she was saying all types of bullcrap in the text messages. She was like saying all types of stuff, but she was talking about the Lord showed me that I should help you and that you were nice and all of that. But then she was talking about you're not what I thought you were. So the Lord lied to you, I guess, then. Quote unquote. And she was talking about you're rude and disrespectful and all that. The usual bullcrap, the usual manipulation. And so then, a while after that, what was it? I unblocked S and J, and I can't remember why. I think I was going to ask something about the storage unit because I was trying to figure out something about that. And then I don't even really remember. I can't remember if I said something first or not, but I know after a while I got a message, or a couple messages, and S was cursing me out, talking about pretty much like insinuating that she had been telling Jay that I was trying to use her for her money. And it's like, she needs to use herself for her money. Shoot. Somebody ought to use it if she's not using it. But it's like, that's still bullcrap though. And I was like, what are you even talking about? And she was talking about the Lord told me. The Lord told me that your stuff was still in the storage unit. And Jay got a text message talking about if she didn't get the stuff out the storage unit by the 1st, that she was going to be charged. And it's like, and I was like, somebody told me that none of that was probably even true, and that like S was probably lying because you have till the 5th. I really don't know about that, but I do know that like I was about to move my stuff anyways, but I feel like I should have been told that. But it's also kind of like, to make a long story short, S went in the storage unit because quote unquote the Lord told her to, and the Lord told her to check, and she stole all my stuff while I was busy trying to get a job. And it's like I don't even think Destiny Snatcher is a term. Like, destiny destroyer and destiny blocker. If anything, it's like, shoot, can't do jack. And so I started getting all those messages, and it's like she was making me nervous because I was taking this short class thing that Dee had told me about, because Dee told me that like she does seasonal work with this place. I'm not gonna say where because I don't like giving a lot of info, but she was like, I could sign up for the class, and if I pass, then I could possibly get hired. So I was like, okay, if I do come back to this state, I'll sign up for it. And so I was in that class, and then it's like I started getting all the bullcrap text messages about, I think that was the same day. I can't even really remember, but I was in the class at that point in time, and it was like really inconveniencing because I needed my stuff because I was going to try to go take a shower and wash my clothes and change what I have on, and then it's like I was being told that all my stuff was taken. And then S was talking about to make a long story short, she was talking about and you think you're going to use Miss J, and you think you're going to use Miss J's money, and you think you're slick or something, and I was like, you need to give me back my stuff. And she was like, I'm not giving you back your stuff, and I already told those people about how you were using Miss J, and they told me that you're banned out the property, and they had told me to just leave your stuff thrown on the sidewalk, thrown on the side of the road outside the storage place, and they told me not to even worry about it. And they said that they see everything, they see the cameras, and they saw what you've been doing. And I was like, what do you mean they seen what I've been doing, using the storage? I was like, what in the world? And I forgot to mention that she had went on this whole rant about how when she had stole my stuff, that my stuff was like on both shelves, and she was like, you had no business doing that, and you had no right to have your stuff in there like that and have your stuff spread out in the storage unit that I was supposed to be sharing. And it's like, well, shoot, if Jay didn't want me to share it, she should have said that in the first place and never invited me to help her get the unit or to share it with her. So it's all weird. And I'm not even gonna lie though, I do think she probably did tell those people whatever, so they did feel some type of way about me, or either the staff was just funny acting. Because I remember I went there one day at 8:30 to get my stuff out, and I was on the phone, and the staff member lady had walked by, and she was like, you can't sleep in here. And I'm like, I'm not even sleeping in here, I just walked over here. And that caused a lot of issues after that, because it's like, no matter how many times I told them I'm not sleeping in there, I guess since the lady just felt like I was in some type of situation, in her mind I was sleeping in there. And so the usual Jezebelic house nigger stuff and the sabotage. And so I had to not use that place anymore anyway, so it's kind of whatever. So I was gonna have to move my stuff anyways, but it was just really inconveniencing to have all my stuff stolen. And luckily I even unblocked them, because I would have never even known. I would have just went back there looking for my stuff to take a shower, and it would have just all been gone, and I would have been confused. Or supposedly Jay was texting me saying, and S said that she'll drop your stuff off at the resource center, but she's not about to make any special trips to bring you your stuff. And I'm like, special trips to bring me back my stuff that she stole? And all that went down, and a lot of insults and accusations, and me being told about how I'm being grown and I'm in the streets, and a whole bunch of stuff. Which I forgot to say way back when, that she accused me of being pregnant and having a pregnant stomach, and told me that I needed to let her check to make sure I wasn't pregnant. But then after a while she accused me of being a lesbian, which at first I thought she was asking me if I was transgender. And she had asked me if I was a boy girl, and I thought that that meant something else, but I guess in her mind it meant was I a lesbian. But I thought she was asking if I was transgender, or maybe even a tomboy or something. And then later on down the line, no, I was able to eventually get my stuff back. I forgot that part. And no, actually I should say this part. I'll drop your stuff off at the storage unit, but I'm not gonna just leave it there. I'm gonna call the police and let them know that I'm not gonna be liable for anything that happens. And it's call the police for what? Call the police on me because you robbed me? And then I was like, well, since Jay told you my number and everything else that she thinks she knows about me, because she really didn't even know me, since she told you all of that, I'm sure she told you about the whole thing with the police and the sexual harassment, and them threatening me and stalking me and harassing me and wanting to lock me up and her up. And the whole thing with the Elvis dude, quote unquote, at the library. And she was like, nah, she didn't tell me any of that. And and I don't believe anything you say anyways because I know that you're a good liar, which she's always been accused me of being a quote-unquote good liar, which I don't even know what she's talking about. But I know she was accusing me of being manipulative because I told her that I didn't want her around me and I wasn't going to move in with her. And that's the usual type of stuff that these types of people do. But it's like, something that I noticed with abusers is that they'll gang up together to abuse you even if they don't know each other. And the thing about it, she was talking about putting my life at risk by getting the police involved, by pretty much claiming that I was trying to like steal stuff and break into a place or something like that, when the police already want me dead and they're already like sexually harassing me with that dude anyways. Abusers will often accuse you of lying about other people's abuse because in their mind, supposedly, they're like, well, I mean, you're claiming I'm doing stuff to you that I shouldn't be doing, so like, if you're claiming I'm doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing to you, then anybody else that you claim is doing stuff to you, you're lying about that too. That's also like really common with like abusive parents, and like if you get R-worded by somebody and you tell them, they'll like curse you out for it. Sometimes if it's like an incest thing, they've been essayed by that person as well before and they just don't want to talk about it. But if it's like some random person, they'll probably be like, well, I mean, shoot, you claim I'm abusing you, so like, how could I believe that like other people are abusing you too? And that's how I see this situation. And then I asked Jay about if she told her about it, and she was like, no, why would I? Because it's none of her business and it didn't involve her. And it's like, well, shoot, my phone number involved her and everything else involved her. And you told her how old you think I am, which may not even be true, because like she thought a whole bunch of stuff about me. And she just kept saying that like it just didn't concern her, and that's why she wouldn't tell her, and she wasn't going to, and she didn't. And it's like, that's really, really stupid. You told her everything else, but you can't tell her that when she's talking about calling the police on me, which would be very dangerous over some stupid stuff. Talking about something I'm not going to be liable. Liable for what? And it's like after you get kicked out of a storage unit, they change the lock anyway. So it's like if they really banned me off the property and they told Jay that that she wasn't allowed back or whatever, that she just didn't have the unit anymore, it's not going to be the same lock. I had actually ended up getting the unit here again, which was going to be my original plan because it was cheaper and low barrier, and they did change the lock, and my notebooks were actually still in there. And the funny thing is, I do remember when Jay and S were saying that like the storage unit dude wanted her to take the stuff out and he wanted her to clean it and send him pictures so she wouldn't be charged, which I find really weird because the storage unit was extremely dirty. It looked like a dog had been living in there and was ant infested when he gave it to her, and it obviously hadn't been cleaned. So it's like, what in the world? I had got my own unit there for a while because they didn't ask for like a lot of info and like all that. Like some places they want you to have a driver's license and everything, but this place was low barrier and it was bull crap, and I ended up having to leave anyway, so. But I personally rather just like have a tent somewhere to keep my stuff because I don't really have money for all that, and a lot of storage units want, like, as I said, driver's license and different things like that, and I don't really have the money, so it's kind of whatever. But yeah, so it's like I did end up renting out my own unit for like a few days, but that kind of went, however, because that one staff lady, and then I guess whatever S told them. And apparently S did like go back to the unit and tried to like send Jay to break in to take my stuff out if it was in there, because quote unquote she didn't want to be liable. And it's like, once you're told to leave a unit, you can't just go back in the unit. And then it's like every time I go in my storage unit to get something, you guys text my phone talking about some "are you asleep?" which is so annoying, like really. But it's like, you didn't text my phone when that lady has sent someone to break into my unit. So like, what's up with that? It's just like, it was just so wishy-washy. But yeah, so it's like S had sent Jay to break into my unit. In fact, no, I forgot some stuff. Actually, let me go back like a couple of days. So the day where S was talking about calling the police, I chose this day to talk to her about giving me back my stuff because I was really busy throughout the week, and I knew I had to pick a day where I felt like I would have more time to possibly play hours of mind games with her and have her playing games with me about why she can't give me back my stuff and how I need to come to her house to get my stuff, which I wouldn't even be able to carry all that, and I don't even know how to get to her house or any of that. And then it's like that same day where she finally came after hours to drop my stuff off by the storage unit, which I told her that I really didn't even want her to bring it there, and she was like, no, I'm going to bring it to the storage unit. And it's like, why bring it to the storage unit if you claim you're going to call the police on me because you feel like I'm going to be able to break back into the storage unit to supposedly, quote unquote, use Jay and use her money and get her charged. And it's like, that happened, and the whole time while she was throwing my stuff out her car that she stole from me, she was cursing me out and telling me about how I needed to move in with her and how I just didn't want help. The usual stuff that people do. Just like that priest in Santa Cruz that wanted me to be his live-in sex slave. And he was always telling me about how I'm a beautiful 13-year-old, quote-unquote, and how I needed to move in with him. And when I wouldn't move in with him, he was like, you don't want help. That usual stuff these types of people do. But anywho, she did all of that. And then I got in her car to look for my notebook for the class that Dee had told me about. And I couldn't find it. And she was like, it may not be in my car. It may still be in the unit because I couldn't really reach to the top. Which reminds me about something I forgot. When they were telling me that they had took my stuff out the unit and stole all my stuff, I was like, wait a minute. I had stuff at the top that might have not even been visible. So some of my stuff may still be in there. And my notebooks for the class is really important. And I was like, I need to go back in there to look for my stuff. And they were like, no, don't go back to the unit because you're going to get Jay charged and you're trying to use Jay and you don't need to go back there. And they were saying nothing was still in there and all that stuff, all that bull crap. But then days later, you're telling me that that some of my stuff may still be in there. And so I got in her car and I was trying to looking on the back seat, the trunk and the back seat, to see if my notebook was under some of her stuff. And she was like, yeah, it's not in here, it may still be in the storage unit. And then she started cursing me out again. And then she tried to drive off with me hanging halfway out the car, and the car door wasn't even closed or anything. And then she was talking about I'll show you something. And she tried to drive off with me hanging halfway out the car. And I guess she was trying to kill me because I wouldn't move in with her or something. And my stuff was still sitting on the ground. So she was trying to pull off with me hanging out the car with my stuff outside the car. And days later, when I saw Jay at the resource center, she told me that S had told her that I jumped in her car like I wanted to move in with her and I wanted to go home with her. And she told her that I was quote-unquote really dirty and I had blood all over me. And it's like, first of all, that is a crazy exaggeration. I don't know, I just unalived somebody or something. It's like, the thing about blood spots is that they don't come out when you wash the pants. And it wasn't even big either. It had to be in a certain position for it to be visible. And I was bending over when I was in her trunk, but she blew it out of proportions and made it seem like I don't know, something hectic had happened, or I don't know. She just told Jay that I had blood all over me, it was crazy and something bad happened, and that I was really dirty. And it's that none of that is true. Jay also told me that S told her that some dude came out the daycare because the daycare is right across the street from the storage unit. And she said that some dude came out and told her that she was right. None of that happened. A dude came out and asked her what was going on because I think apparently he goes to the church too and he saw me before. And he knew that I was the homeless kid. I think that's what she said, that he went to the church too. But overall, I do know that he came out and asked what was going on because I was sitting in front of the daycare because there was a little bit of shade, waiting for her to show up because she took hours to show up because she kept saying she was going to come, and then she'd be like, so do you want me to come or not? And I was like, I've been told you to bring me my stuff. What are you talking about? And so then she was screaming outside the daycare, and I don't think anybody had came yet because it was still, well, no, it wasn't early. I think maybe people had left by then, but she just flipped everything around the usual, and it was just really annoying. And I didn't get the shower that day, and actually a lot of stuff happened behind that because that was my one day where I was really going to have time that week, or at least during the weekdays, to shower. And it's that place that I had recently found that was a safer place to shower at, Dee had told me about it, but due to a lot of the issues that a lot of the guys around here have, I was eventually told that I can only shower when other female staff are there because for just in case something happens, quote unquote, they don't want me to shower when none of the female staff are there. And it's I've been in situations with med professionals, the Job Corps situation where I was assaulted, but even 2 boys were assaulted by that dude, but the female staff was in the room, but she didn't do anything. So it's kind of like, I mean, people probably aren't going to do anything about it anyways, but it's like, if you have a resource center, people are supposed to be able to come to shower, and you have to worry about you or the other staff R-wording me or really anybody. I mean, should you really even have this type of program anyways? But okay. But yeah, so like, it's like, I gotta figure out something else. Last time I showered, I went to the truck stop, but like, I don't really have money for that because it's $17. And luckily, I had the money then, but like, I'm trying to figure out something else though. So anyhow, and that was a safer place to shower. But to make a long story short, eventually Jay told me and Dee at the resource center, S had been doing all types of stuff to her. She was really argumentative, and she had been throwing her clothes away and throwing her food away. And she was throwing away her clothes she got from the resource center and throwing away the canned goods that she was getting because, quote unquote, she didn't want any of Jay's stuff in her house because Jay's dirty and homeless, and she doesn't want more roaches, and that Jay was going to bring roaches, even though S already had roaches. But I guess she's trying to like tell herself that she has roaches because of me and Jay, I guess. But the usual, the whole, you're dirty and you're a bum and I don't want your stuff in my house, and I don't want used or donated clothes in my house or donated canned goods, which is really crazy because S didn't really have any food in her house at all. She couldn't really afford food, so I feel like she's not even really in the predicament to be picky about canned goods and donated food. And I forgot a lot of stuff. So S made Jay get piercings at the mall or somewhere like that. She made her dye her hair. S was telling me about how Jay was grateful and how she took her shopping, and Jay was crying and talking to the staff at the store and at the cash register because that was her first time being able to go get clothes and shoes in years because she was so used to like other people having control over her money. Fast forward at the resource center, a separate day from the other day where Jay had told me and Dee about different things that had been happening. Jay told us that S was telling her that she was going to be her caretaker and that she was just going to rent out a room from S for $500 a month again. It's always $500 a month. And in fact, I think she might have said a little bit more than that. But yeah, she was talking about how she was about to rent out a room from S and how S was going to sign up to be her caretaker. It was already in the process of being approved. And it's like, I mean, due to Jay's health issues, she's definitely less healthy than S and can't get around like S can. But S is still like 10 plus years older than Jay. So I feel like that's still pretty iffy. But yeah, so she's waiting for S to become her caretaker and talking about paying her $500 plus a month to rent a room from her, even though S kept talking about how she wasn't going to use her money and how she was going to help her get a place and all that usual bullcrap, and how she wasn't going to use Jay. But that's when Dee and the resource center staff had got together to try to encourage Jay to just get her own apartment that they were trying to tell her about. And then Jay was still telling me and Dee that she was going to get the apartment now, supposedly, but she was still going to let S be her caretaker under one of those medical insurance programs where the caretakers have been saying for years on end that they're not getting paid enough. One of those, and it's like, so now you're going to have her come into your house and trying to control you, and she's going to be mad if you get your own place because she wants you to live with her so she can get your money. Then Jay just kept saying, well, I mean, I have health issues and I can't really take care of myself, and I don't mind her being my caretaker. And it's like, but the thing is, with these caretaker programs, you could sign up and they could assign you a caretaker that's anybody else other than S. I even remember at one point S was trying to was claiming she was going to help Jay get a place, and she was saying she was going to make me live with Jay to be a caretaker. And it's like, I mean, I don't want to be rude, but you have to set boundaries anyways. But it's also like, one, I don't even know her and she doesn't even know me, which I guess that's usually how the caretaker thing would go, but like still and then it's like, we had the same health issues. She's just a little further along because one, she's way older, And then 2, she's been listening to the doctor's gaslighting, as people commonly do. I was lucky enough to break free from the gaslighting and start working on fixing my own health issues, which mine are iatrogenic. I guess she was born with hers, but it's like, I wouldn't do it for many reasons, but one thing to really think about is the fact that I don't feel comfortable doing any of that, and I have the same health issues she has, so it's like, I mean, shoot, I need a caretaker sometimes. So it's like, and I used to be way worse, but it's like, crap, Oh yeah, and then Jay had told me that S tried to make Jay go to her grandson's birthday party at the bowling alley, and that she didn't really feel comfortable doing that. And then Jay had told me about she didn't really feel comfortable about the lady cursing out her grandson for being scared to talk to random people that she brings in the house. And then also about how like the grandson wasn't allowed to go outside, a common situation. People can say whatever they want to say, but being in an abuse situation where you're not allowed to do anything but sit in the house and like scroll the internet or play video games sets you up for all types of health issues and nutrient deficiencies. And it also sets you up to fall right into different types of sexual addictions as a coping mechanism. And then if you ever get out the abuse situation, you realize you're attracted to 10-year-olds and it's just not good. About how S had lost her house keys again and how she had to climb into her house through the window and let everybody in. And apparently S was trying to force Jay to like help her paint and lift and carry a table and like some furniture because she was trying to like start a new business, and that's also pretty funny. And Jay says that she told her that she's not about to carry any furniture because she doesn't even have the health for all that. And she said the S had got mad at her and started arguing with her and said that she just was mad because she wouldn't let her sit on her couch cushions. And the last thing I forgot, so Jay's reasoning was that she trusted S because S told her she was a Christian, and so she thought she was a Christian. And it's like, well, I mean, what's the reason for all the other times? It's like desperation and not being able to accept being alone. And I also get that like it's really not an easy thing, especially when you have health issues. And like I could get why she wouldn't even really want to be in a place by herself because she feels like she wouldn't be able to take care of herself with her health issues. But I mean, she's been doing it out here, so I don't know. And plus, when people see you as a quote-unquote normal person with parents and a family that you live with, although American society is so individualistic, people feel like you shouldn't live with family or you're broke and lazy and childish. But when people see you as like a normal person, you actually get treated better. And people don't see you as like an easy target to torture.